for 2 hours.
But we might as well do it live, Evan.
Do it live. We're back. Here we are. Good old. What episode is this? 137?
137.
Wow. So this can be a big one. You know, we finished another big Marvel series. You know, whoops. I'm but yeah, we finished another big Marvel series. We finished I think every Marvel series has been on this channel, which is pretty interesting. Which is big, going into 2025.
Missed a couple shows. Maybe one day.
I keep forgetting that we didn't talk about Echo, right? Oh,
Secret Yeah, we did one episode of Secret Invasion. Like, all right, let's go, and then the Flash happened, and then I don't know.
You're gonna blame
unrelated, but it happened.
I don't know. But hopefully, we'll be here to talk about every single Marvel show happening in 2025 because there's a huge slate of Marvel TV. I think every month, or nearly every month, you know, given the release date all the way to the end of said series, combine that with, you know, Fantastic Four coming out next year, Captain America coming out next year, and Thunderbolts coming out next year. It's gonna be very, very stacked for Marvel. Who said they're taking a break? Iger said we're taking a break, and I guess 2024 was their break with just one Marvel movie. Pretty weird.
Yeah.
So we got to talk about that and the finale of Agatha, which was pretty strong-ish. You know, I have some issues with it overall. I have some fun with it as well. And then Penguin episode 7 last night was woo-wee. That was a heavy episode. That was a crazy episode. So I can't wait to talk about Penguin and our theories for the finale.
Absolutely. Where shall we start, Evan?
Let's start with the slate here. I'm going to share the screen. You know, it takes me 5 hours to share the fucking screen all the time. But
it's okay.
Here
we go. We know you're 47. It's cool.
Okay.
What is this one?
Why not? Let's do closed captioning. So yeah, we're just gonna run by this. You know, we're gonna go through it full speed, not full speed, but you know, normal speed, and then we'll go bits and pieces, bits and bobs, and break down certain aspects of these trailers. Are you ready, Nathan?
Yeah, let's do it.
I brought you here to offer you an opportunity.
Oh, I smell what you're stepping in. It's gonna get good.
Some of these shows, I'm like, damn, this has been in the can for a minute, dude.
Spend some time.
Yeah.
You've come up in the world. I can say this.
I miss Daredevil so much.
This looks like season 4, man.
It totally does. Bullseye's back.
Exactly what kind of a lawyer are you? A really good one.
Spider-Man series.
Hey.
And I like the animation.
I want to build something undeniable.
Anyone who's ever accomplished
This
anything
looks like a bigger budget than I expected.
Yeah, it looks like, you know, straight out of like Black Panther Wakanda Forever. You know what I mean? Like, big budget for this show. I'm excited.
Up for an adventure.
The last season of What If?
The battle they will sing about for ages.
And
Cool.
You can slate whenever you're ready.
Simon Williams, reading for Wonder Man. I was born.
This is the biggest like question mark, Wonder Man.
Yeah.
We both have a lot riding on this.
He could have been Kang, Evan.
I am ready.
Eyes of Wakanda looks awesome. I like that. We got a short snippet, but I'm excited.
Jesus. We have a long road ahead of us. Much to do.
Oh my God!
Wow.
That's a lot of Marvel, Nathan.
I'm a show. I'm here.
I'm just chilling here. Let's break down this stuff bit by bit, brick by brick. There we go here.
Nice.
So starting off with Daredevil Born Again coming out this upcoming March. I think March 8th is the premiere of Daredevil Born Again.
I
we talked about
so.
it. But what are your thoughts? What's your anticipation level for Daredevil going in?
It's probably gonna hit pretty hard, dude. It feels like it looks just as rich as the Netflix series. It really does, and I'm very happy that it is. Because with how it was starting out, is like, how did we stray so far from the light of God? And now we're back in that holy light.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, man. And there's been some complaints that people have been having in terms of like the lighting of the series in contrast to the Netflix, like the visual style. It's like people have been wondering, like, are we going to get that interesting color contrast that the Netflix series had? And people are worried because it's on Disney Plus, not on Netflix. And I have to disagree. I think Disney Plus has showcased the ability to have some very cool visual and lighting cues. We saw with Loki a lot of the time, Miss Marvel, WandaVision. They have the ability. I think they just didn't, I don't want to say they just didn't show it, but like I'm hopeful that the lighting isn't like super basic as this trailer might assume at times. But like I think it's going to be a pretty well-produced show in terms of that style. But this is exciting in terms of Kingpin and Daredevil, Matt having a conversation at the diner. Kingpin, following this post-credit scenes of Echo, spoiler alert, he's slowly becoming mayor of New York City again. I think he wasn't mayor on Daredevil season 3, was he? Or was he trying to be mayor? I forget.
No, he may have been trying to be mayor, but then Matt sent him to jail.
Okay. Well, between the blip and where we are now, he has successfully become the mayor. He seems to be having some conversations with Matt, talking about his darker half in this trailer here. In this conversation here. It seems like they have some kind of truce. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe Matt's like not full on we see Matt going against Kingpin's goons in Echo a little bit. So it's like, he's still fighting against Kingpin, but Kingpin seemingly isn't going full on like evil. He's not the main antagonist as he was in season 1 and season 3 of Daredevil. We'll get to the main antagonist here in a bit with I forget his name. It's a guy from I'll look him up in a second. It's the guy with paint on his face. Do you know his name? The new villain.
Dream Theater.
Thank you. Villain.
That's a band.
Muse. There we go. Muse. But that seemed to be him right there.
Yeah.
Right there with the eyes coming down. This was a character created by Charles Soule. But before that, real quick, he's fighting Bullseye here. This is Bullseye's new costume for season 4 here. This is interesting. I like seeing Bullseye back. He was a fantastic character in season 3. I loved his character so much. He was a complex character with a cartoonish side to him in terms of his fighting style and stuff like that. It was a really fun mix. And I'm just so excited for the action, like what the Marvel, budget can do with new action here. This is Kamala. I'm seeing the president and the character differently. Kamala's dad there. But before we leave, I want to talk about Muse. So Muse seemingly is going to be the main antagonist of this series. And for what I've been researching on, he is pretty much a darker version of the Punisher, a serial killer type of character who punishes politicians, corrupt politicians, all the kind of stuff, and bad political leaders, but much more so than Punisher. You know, Punisher punishes criminals. This guy's going after politicians, and serial killer. So unlike Punisher, who punishes people and just beats them up, sometimes kills them, this guy enjoys the killing. He's a serial killer who enjoys the bloody artistry of his kills, and that's what sets his sights on, or that's what gets Daredevil to get his sights on Muse, because he's a antagonistic, anarchist serial killer with no moral code, as the Punisher would have it. And that might lead into why we are seeing the Punisher this season. In terms of like, hey, maybe my theory is like maybe some people think the Punisher is doing this, but it's not, right? It's gonna be this character, so that's why that could get the Punisher in here, because it's like, hey, you're punishing these corrupt people, but Punisher's like, this is not me, and this guy is going way beyond my my kind of thing. I think that's just from the research I've been doing on the character. And then that could also include why Kingpin is also talking to Matt here. They're like, hey, this guy is coming after me. Granted, Kingpin is corrupt of the corrupt here. We know that. But he obviously doesn't want to get killed. And that could, get an uneasy truce between Kingpin and Daredevil here, going against Muse. But yeah, I think this is a 12 episode series. I think it is still 12 or 8. I'm not sure anymore. Ever since they reconfigured everything. But I don't know. Usually for these kinds of shows, especially if it's 12 episodes, we're not going to have one main villain for the entire time. So Kingpin could rise after Muse is defeated, or some other antagonist like Bullseye. So we have Bullseye, Muse, and Kingpin. That's 3 villains with the possible 12 episodes. So we can do 4-act structures, I'm thinking, or 4-episode structures. And yeah, I'm excited to see Karen and Foggy. I think we see them later in this trailer.
I think so. They're releasing like other trailers.
Yeah, let me see. Towards the end of this. I
think you're right at the end.
Yeah, there we go. We have a long road ahead of us. And yeah, this is Punisher.
I'd nickel for every time like a franchise was like having a line about like a long journey for installments, and it's usually Marvel, and there's never like a conclusion, because we just have more stuff coming. It's like we got a long road ahead. We've been on the road. It's been how many years? 15.
It's like Agatha. It's like the road, it never existed. We're just on a ride, and it's never ending. Oh my gosh, yeah, we're gonna be in our 80s and 90s, and they're still creating new Iron Man content. It's like, oh boy.
You remember we did as much as me, but like we'll have a new Marvel movie coming out. It's like I'll watch them all before.
Yeah, now it's too hard. Now it's impossible. So yeah, I like the direction, just the short camera angles here of this. Daredevil coming in to possibly help out Punisher. We get a cool team up here. There's also some cool behind the scenes stuff of Daredevil and Punisher like filming, so that's gonna be fun to see as well. March 4th for that. But yeah, let's go on to the next one here after Devil, which was what was it? Spider-Man. This is Nathan's bread and butter. What are your thoughts on this animation style?
I'm still bummed it's not completely like 2D, like it seemed to have been sold as previously.
Yeah, they sold it like in that one still as like 2D, but now it's like fully 3D animated.
Yeah, I was like, look, it's classic Ditko style comic 2D animation. I'm like, cool. And then they presented stuff like this, and I was like, okay. But it's like a different instance from like, because they did a similar thing with What If as reveal, or not What If, with X-Men 97's comeback. because a lot of people were like worried about how that would look, but then they saw it in motion. It was like, I was actually like working pretty well. So I'm sure I'm probably just gonna have like a quick. It'll be a quick adjustment period. I'm just excited for Spidey stories.
Me too, man. And yeah, I just like we keep seeing people. Oh, by the way, I don't know if you saw the comment, but from Draven, I missed that.
Oh yeah. I was sharing them. I guess you were on the tab.
Sorry, I was on the other tab. What's up, Draven? Yeah. This guy is so dead. This guy is dead. He's dead and gone right here. But everybody's been saying like this is horrible animation.
It's horrible animation.
It's not horrible. It's definitely. I'm with Nathan. It's not what I expected. Yeah, this guy is dead. He's dead on impact. He's dead and gone.
Ooh.
It's not horrible animation. It's not what I expected. It's not what I was like hoping for. But I'm down to see new types of animation. We're living in an era where there's tons of new animated movies coming out every single year with new types of animation. Same thing for TV shows. Maybe this could be better once we get a taste of it and we see like multiple episodes of it. We're eventually going to get used to it. So I think it just like demeaned the animators. Imagine working on this show for 3+ years. The first trailer comes out and everybody's like, "This is horrible," just because of the animation of the animation style. So it's like it's very demoralizing.
Yeah, and Draven said here, I gotta be honest, I'm kind of ready for another Spider-Man cartoon where he's not in high school. Interesting. I can't think of the last time we had a Spidey cartoon where he wasn't in school. I guess it would be the 90s, but like at that point, it'd be the 90s, season 6.
Yeah, I mean, there's always rumors saying that there are discussions for future seasons of the Marvel 98, whatever it was called.
I will say that's an exciting thing for me with Spider-Man 4. Even if we are doing like crazy big scale adventure, I don't got to worry about like the school setting, which we didn't really in the last one either. It was so brief, but it'd be nice to get out of like the small scaleness of that, and just be like I want Spidey in the city, man. I want to just be in New York, not just the small borough of Queens.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. But yeah, I'm excited for this show. I remember it was supposed to be like connected to the MCU initially, but then this is full on a different take with a different universe.
It's kind of it's just because it's kind of like ends up being a what if.
Yeah.
From the standpoint of it being Norman instead of Tony, and then because there's other Marvel heroes, because the arts that they showed at some different cons is like Doctor Strange is in it, Daredevil's in it.
Yeah. Like a lot of different characters are in this show. And yeah, it seemed to be like, what if Osborn was the character who saw Peter instead of Tony in Civil War in that scene? And then it just spawns off from there from tons of different characters, new powers, new stuff like that. Not much to say because the trailer doesn't give us much. But this is looking pretty cool. And then we have Ironheart here, which has been in the can for over 2 years now, I think. Right? Like this, I think this was filmed either the same time or a little bit after Wakanda Forever. Wakanda Forever finished filming in late 2021. They had some early reshoots in early 2022, but it came out. Wakanda Forever came out in 2022, late November 2022. And I remember Ironheart was filming like that summer 2022, maybe even 2021. Either way, it's been a while since the show's been filming, or since the show wrapped filming. So it's going to be I always don't, I feel bad for the actors who have to like recollect all this stuff from filming. It's like, hey, what do you remember from 2 years ago? It's like, sure, like they got to read the notes from their managers and shit. But yeah, this is going to be the big summer Marvel show. So this is Riri Williams. People forget the super genius from MIT who was invited by the residents of Wakanda, Shuri, and them to help them out, in Wakanda Forever. And this takes place immediately after that. She was not able to keep the suit after Wakanda Forever. They said, "Hey, it's vibranium. You should,
Yeah.
we need that back." So that's why she's coming up with all these different suits. But what's always been interesting about Riri Williams is that she's super smart like Tony, but she doesn't have the money like Tony. So she has to come up with other means to get money and other means to do her stuff. It's kind of like, Tony Stark, he built his stuff in a cave with a box of scraps. But Riri Williams going to have to be doing the same here in a modern setting.
Yeah.
So this is pretty exciting here. Most of the sequences here is her building her suit. She seems to be in a meeting at a principal's office. You can kind of assume either at the beginning of the series, the end of the series, I don't know, that she's going to get kicked out of MIT. Because, she did leave in the middle of her semester to help save Wakanda. And then just
I'm sure they can. I think they would say like, "Oh yeah, we'll settle that for you," because Wakanda has pull everywhere.
That's true. Yeah, if I'm Riri and I'm like, "Hey, Shuri, give me a pass or like, can you guys sign like a paper or something so I can show?"
Remember when you kidnapped me? I know you saved me, but you kidnapped me, and then we got kidnapped.
So that's gonna be very funny because I'll be pissed if I get kicked out of college. And Wakanda just like, "Hey, well, thank you for helping us, but we can't help you out now." It's like, what the fuck?
Not very Wakanda of you.
Right? Not very Wakanda of you. But this is
not very cash money.
This is Twister's own Anthony Ramos.
Twister's own from A Star Is Born's own.
Is he in A Star Is Born?
Yeah, he's Gaga's best friend in that.
I keep forgetting that. I haven't seen that movie since it came out.
So it's sad.
It's a very sad movie. It's not one of them. I can't wait to watch Star Is Born. Yeah, it's very that second half of the movie. Oof. It's great, but very sad. This is Anthony Ramos playing the character of the Hood, who initially is best friend with Riri Williams, but of course turns out to be one, if not the main villain of the series. Yeah. Mixes magic and science together.
Great suit.
But it's very Dr. Doom of him. But yeah, this is a very cool, early concept suit. I don't know when this could be taking place. Seems to be probably stopping a robbery or something, if I had to guess. But I'm with you, Nathan, in terms of the budget. This budget seems very big. There was a article that came out in terms of like the Marvel budget and the insanity of them, especially in contrast to Agatha, which was I think $40 million for the entire series. And other shows had like Loki and Miss Marvel and you name it, Moon Knight had like $100+ million sunk into their TV costs, which is why they kept on being like, we're gonna take a step back with other Marvel shows, which I think is still the case. But I think 2025 is just going to be them like releasing all the stuff they had in the vault. And then 2026, we'll probably get back to what we have this year, which is just like maybe one, maybe two series a year. But either way, yeah, I like this. She seems to be like in some kind of not car park, but a repair place. I don't know. Cause look at it's like a car, what's it called? Yeah.
Garage.
Yeah, car garage, something like that. What were you saying?
Looks like from what I could tell, it looks like she is like gonna have two distinct suits in this. Whether that's for the whole show or maybe she'll have another, I don't know. But I'm seeing two different designs.
Yeah, with a character like Ironheart, you can never it's hard to guess how many she could have. She could have like 5 or 6. But knowing the budget is probably you're probably right, probably like 1 or 2.
Yeah, looking like she'll have her Mark 3 and 4 for this installment. I
don't think this is Riri. That's Riri. This is somebody else. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But she's getting her money. Like I said, I think the big thing here is this can be like this could be also another evil character or just somebody having fun. But yeah, it's gonna be about her getting her money, getting her means to create new armor, but also battling Anthony Ramos, who probably is gonna be like the friend who betrayed her or she betrays him. He could be the one probably being like, hey, here's an easy way to get money. Do some heist for us, Grand Theft Auto style. And then across the way, she's like, maybe I don't like doing this. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that was it. Okay. What If season 3. So this is our final season of What If, Nathan. And it's coming sooner than we expected. This is coming out similar to last year at the very last week of December. So that's gonna be fun.
Absolutely.
Anything in particular you like from this snippet we see here?
Well, let's take a look.
Yeah, so
Shang-Chi's always good.
Shang-Chi's always fun. And we're going to see Shang-Chi in Marvel Zombies as well. So he's going to be, we're not getting our Shang-Chi sequel, but somehow we're able to get Shang-Chi, a Western episode here, alongside Shang-Chi and Marvel Zombies. I'll take what I can get.
Absolutely. Wow.
This is a lot. It seems to be Kith, right, from Thor: Dark World.
That one of his minions is just a dark elf.
Yeah, I see a lot of dark elves in here. I don't know. Are they all dark elves?
No, I guess I think those might be Asgardians.
Asgardians and dark elves. Okay, it's seemingly same location, fighting a Mecha Gundam style Captain America suit. That was quick. That was short. Was that it for Marvel's for What If? Did we see more later on? Maybe.
It might be like one or two shots later. But yeah, that's interesting. I remember one of the first looks they had stills for the Gundams was there's a Gundam for Sam here, but there's also going to be one for Monica Rambeau, Photon.
Oh wow. Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. I think that was like released. I forget what package that was from. I want to say Entertainment Weekly, something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah, but it was like an advanced, early, a special look at What If and what is to come. So yeah, What If's coming out December. We're gonna get tons of different episodes. Nathan and I have reviewed every single What If season. I think season 1 was a bit stronger than season 2. Would you agree? And
I remember I was very let down by the arc of Sinister Strange.
Yeah, that was weird, right? Continue.
I don't know. It was weird because, like, in the first season, it was like he did a bad thing, and then he faces the worst consequence ever, and then he was like, "All right, maybe I can help people." And the second season is like, "Yeah, I'm, just helping everybody around," and it's like, but actually, I'm still gonna try to save Christine. Like, stop it.
Yeah, it was really weird. I think season 2 only had a couple strong episodes. I think the episodes with the new character, the Native American character, I forget her name. She was incredible. I think her 2-episode arc was great. And that was kind of it for like great episodes. I think there was a fun one with what's it called? Hela learning like the ways of the Shang-Chi, stuff like that.
Hela and Wenwu fighting Odin.
That was a great episode. So there's like
which, as you said, like anything with Shang-Chi is really good stuff.
So hopefully that continues. I think the Shang-Chi lore is just awesome. But hopefully that continues with this season where it's like
Draven was saying, I don't see why the What If show needs to have an arc. I kind of see what you're saying, Draven. But like, if it's like, if they're going to continue to have the characters show up, I just mean like, it's weird to at the very least like send a character like that Doctor Strange in a direction that's so polar opposite to where he did arc from in the first, because the first season they did a crossover of different individuals from different episodes together. So that I understand, but yeah, with the second one, it was a little odd because they ended up. It does feel like they're having like Sharon Carter Peggy be the overarching main character of this What If series.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. So all the lead up to season 2, we saw like the origins to Peggy Carter, and we saw some Peggy Carter episodes. Honestly, Peggy Carter's episodes were some of the weakest, I think, of season 2. But either way,
I have
do you think she's going to continue being the main character? Speaking of like overall arc, do you think she's going to be our leading woman in the series still?
I mean, at this point, the last season, I don't really see why they wouldn't at this point, because we last saw her just being like really close friends with the Watcher and just kind of like looking through different multiverses together. So probably. I don't hate her character. I enjoy her. She's great. I enjoyed her episodes, but yeah, I feel like they're probably going to continue.
Yeah, I just feel like some of her episodes have been very very not boring. They were just fine. I remember like the one that was a ripoff of the Black Widow episode, or the Black Widow movie, where she fights off against like an evil, Bucky or whatever.
Yeah, that was the first episode, I think, of season 2. That was bringing Steve back, kind of Winter Soldier style, trapped in the Iron Man.
Yeah, it was just like, it was some fine episodes, but like, you know, in terms of like, does this What If show need to have an arc? It doesn't, but they've been just like pushing this like every episode is connected kind of thing. And I wouldn't mind if it's just like, hey, just do anthologies every single episode. You don't have to build up to a big like culmination. It worked in season 1, where I thought the finale for season 1 was pretty awesome. The season 2 finale was like, it was fine, it was cool, but it didn't hook me as much as the season 1 finale did. In terms of like scale and character work, and mainly because the character work was not that great in terms of what Nathan's saying. Like the main villain in season 2 turned out to be like an evil Doctor Strange again. I'm just like, okay, we're good here. But yeah, I'm excited for what If can be. Like, again, just hoping the majority of the episodes are going to be good. And I think we're just going to do the same thing we did last year in terms of like just covering it at the end and not covering it every single episode.
Because they were dropping them like once a day, so that was tricky.
Yeah, so I hope they honestly still do the once a day stuff. I think it's coming out like December 22nd or whatever, Christmas Day, the day after Christmas. I don't know when.
Yeah, I ended up letting them build up, and then I did like I watched half, and then I watched the other half.
I'm with you. I think Jalen and I watched like 3 episodes a day. It's like, okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then just, you know, keep on binging it from there, and then we'll just cover it as a full season after the fact.
I don't recall if it's been released by anyone, like what the episodes are gonna be. I'm unsure.
You know, you say that. I think I'm having a short recollection of somebody showing me like a screen grab of the titles.
Let me look.
Yeah, you can go ahead and look to see anything. While you do that, I'll be talking about Marvel Zombies here. This one, arguably, even though it has the same animation style as What If, and it could be just as like mid or just as decent as What If, I think this can be fun. You know, I actually liked, some people didn't, but I actually liked the Marvel Zombies episode of season 1. I thought that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
And
this is interesting.
This is interesting, right? This is Blade.
What?
I thought he was dead.
He exists.
He exists in the MCU. Most likely voiced by Mahershala Ali. That has not been confirmed, but you have to assume so. And yeah, this is Blade in the MCU here fighting zombies.
I hope he asked if we're ready for that.
Are you guys ready for this? And this is Yelena, or this Yelena, or
I think it is. I think it's Yelena.
Okay. I couldn't tell for a second there. But I remember the big thing that got me excited about zombies here is that Kamala will be like the main leader. Do you remember reading that? Like Kamala's gonna be the main leader and Shang-Chi's gonna be there as well. Like I think the lineup here for the survivors is really fun.
Yeah, I don't remember like who would be leading the charge, but I do remember the roster of characters they had, because they had, from top of my head, I think they had Bucky, Red Guardian, Yelena, Shang-Chi and his friend Katie, Kamala, Kamala, and another character. That Blade wasn't Moon Knight. Blade wasn't there yet, because that's what they're featuring here is Blade with the Moon Knight Khonshu abilities.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. That's Blade with Moon Knight abilities.
Yeah, or like Khonshu chose Blade, I guess. Which may if that in and of itself is an episode, that's wild.
Holy shit! I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't realize this.
Yeah, because like Blade doesn't normally look like this.
He really doesn't know, but that's exciting. I would love that concept. That sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So okay, let's end this with Wonder Man, Simon something. I forget his name here. But this is the most like meta version of the character, I think. I'm not familiar with Wonder Man at all. So if you have any, but I think Simon, what does it say here? Simon Williams. Okay. So that is his name in the comics. I know that for sure. At least one of his identities in the comics is Simon Williams. And he's reading for, as he says here, Wonder Man, which could be a play on like, you know, a meta take on the behind the scenes nature of Marvel movies. Like my idea for this show is going to be a meta take on a superhero TV show that escalates into something real, where he actually is going to get powers, where he is actually going to become a hero. I think it's going to be a comedy show, a comedic show, where maybe he starts off as, you know, a fledgling actor in the West Coast, with, you know, our boy Trevor from Shang-Chi. You know, and Trevor, last time you saw him, again, he was in Shang-Chi. They freed him from the clutches of Wen Wu, who kind of had him as like a court jester kind of character. And he's free, and he moved back. He is an actor. He moved back to the West Coast here, San Fran, LA, I think LA here. And he could be like an acting coach or manager for Simon Williams here.
Yeah.
But yeah, my take is that this is going to be a very funny meta show that escalates into something real. That's as far as I can tell from this. What do you think, man?
Yeah, just like from off the cuff, I wonder if it's gonna like lead into a situation where, like, I don't know if it's the studio powers that be, but like if they like cast him into this role where he actually is supposed to do hero things, but they're just kind of like having him follow a script, and if things get a little too intense, it'd be like, oh, it's method or something. But it's all legit.
I love that. So this could be a fun show. This is definitely the one I'm keeping my eye on the most. It's coming out December 2025, so very end of the year. And it sucks because I think this is one of the ones that was also filmed a long time ago. This is from Destin Daniel Cretton, the creator and director of the Shang-Chi movie. He definitely produced this show. I don't know if he directed some episodes or wrote some episodes, but he's definitely an executive producer on this series. I don't know who the exact showrunner is for Wonder Man, but again, Destin is doing this, and he's also doing Spider-Man 4, you know, next year. So it's gonna be a big year for Destin.
Destin he was originally attached to do Kang Dynasty, wasn't he?
Exactly. Yep. You know, his draft of King Dynasty had Shang-Chi as the main lead, and that might not be the case anymore.
This is interesting.
This is also very, very, like, in terms of like my most anticipated, I think is Daredevil and Eyes of Wakanda. I love a good animation style. This one looks a little bit different than what we've been seeing with What If and Marvel Zombie. Just the textures of the character designs look a bit different.
This has like that storybook painting aesthetic you would see in something like Puss in Boots or something like that.
Exactly. I'm with you 100% there. And this is an anthology. You know, people are like, how are we getting Wakanda series without Black Panthers? Like, but Wakanda is such a diverse and interesting world that there's a lot of like fascinating ways that this anthology could work out. I don't know how many episodes.
Yeah.
Somebody said like a 4-episode series or just a 6-episode series. I don't think it's going to be a lot of episodes, but
From its initial announcement, I wasn't even aware that it was going to be animated. So it's a pleasant surprise.
Me neither. Yeah, I remember like there was a rumor. It just said like Black Panther show, and it's like, oh wow, cool. But yeah, Eyes of Wakanda. These are people protecting artifacts and anything related to Wakanda throughout the years of civilization. Just going a globe-trotting kind of thing where, whether it's in Wakanda or anywhere on the globe, they are protecting artifacts of Wakanda. Different characters each time, I think. So this is very cool. You see like the pirate ships, something like that. Looks really cool.
Yeah. The Predator's back there.
And that was kind of it there. So yeah, it looks like a fun show. Deadpool and Wolverine, Nathan's favorite movie of the year.
I can't wait to see it when it drops on Disney Plus. I can't believe it skipped theaters. It's insane.
Insane. That's crazy. So yeah, just some short snippets that we missed. Zombie Thanos.
He's at
King
the last
Thanos.
in the last season. I wonder how that's gonna go,
Yeah, me too, man.
It is interesting. I don't know like how deep they're gonna go with the zombie lore, but like I know that in the Marvel zombie storyline, like once they got past the ravenous era of eating anybody that was alive, and they're just kind of like were there to just be there with their thoughts basically and always be hungry, but still exist. They like were still the minds of the heroes, just with that insatiable hunger, and like they like there's a fucking panel with Spider-Man in that story. It's terrible. He ends up like eating MJ and Aunt May, and it's terrible. And he just has to like live with that guilt. It's like, oh my god.
Damn. That's dark.
It's terrible. Yeah. But
okay. That's about it. I also wanted to show you something, hot off of the good old rumor mill here. Let me share this screen. Oh
yeah.
Going to end up eating Galactus. You gotta have Draven here for all the deep cuts, comic book stuff. So this was floating around last week. This is the rumored Spider-Man 4 plot. This is what you get from your production people.
It's plot. Okay.
Plot.
I think I read this.
wow! On air. This is always fun doing stuff on air with Nathan. So this came from the guy on Twitter. What's his fucking name? I forget his name. Yeah, but one of the major leakers. Whoops, we're not watching this. My YouTube video is showing the Skeleton Crew trailer.
I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, we gotta do. We should do. I was thinking we should do a Hyperspace hype. Sometime this week or next week in terms of like leading up for Skeleton Crew in December. Oh, whoops! Did I delete the other thing there?
You took off the share screen.
My bad. It's on me, guys. But I think we should do some kind of Hyperspace hype stuff like leading into December. But anyways, this is of course rumored plot synopsis for Spider-Man 4. Take it with a grain of salt as always, but producers are there. This classic Sony producers and Marvel producers, Feige, Amy Pascal, stuff like that. Destin Daniel Cretton is the director, starring Tom Holland, Zendaya. How much she can be in the movie, we don't really know. But the big thing here is the synopsis. So I'll read it out to everybody here if you're watching along or just listening. Following the events of Doomsday, remember this is the first Marvel movie chronologically after Avengers Doomsday, which comes out in May. This comes out in July next year, or in 2026. Peter Parker is determined to lead a normal life and focus on college, stepping back from his responsibilities as Spider-Man. However, peace is short-lived when a deadly new threat emerges, endangering his friend and forcing Peter to reconsider his promise. With stakes higher than ever, Peter reluctantly returns to his Spider-Man identity and finds himself teaming up with an unlikely ally to protect those he loves. Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, Michael Keaton as Vulture, and Robert Downey Jr., Dr. Doom, are mentioned to join the cast, with the late May 2025 all the way to late October production date. And that's for 2025 to release July 10th with a rumor title Spider-Man Brand New Day. That could be the production title, not the actual title, because that sounds very bad in my opinion. But yeah, Nathan, on air. What do you think about this, bro?
Look, as for a title, fuck, nah. I can't wait for we're gonna get into like 2035 and it's be like, oh man, guys, which do you think was better, the Home trilogy or the Day trilogy?
Yeah.
That being said, whatever. Interesting plot from the sounds of it. Well, first off, I'll talk about the cast for a second. It kind of becomes like an interesting sense of validity, because if this was just like a random fan made thing, it's like, why wouldn't you plug Toby's name in as well? Which would also make an interesting thing of like, what if Toby isn't in this? What if it's just Andrew? That'd be kind of interesting.
I wouldn't mind that.
We'll save Toby for Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the idea of like having Tom and Andrew Spider-Man together with Keaton's Vulture, exclusively Keaton's Vulture, I guess, unless they have other villains as well that may
Nathan, I have to ask, is Vulture going to be following the fantastic post-credit scene of Morbius?
Need some fucking Listerine to wash that out. Thank you for that. But I don't know, man. I hope the food's better in this joint. So that's baffling. I need to get that fucking file to put out our commentary.
It's so good.
So yeah, and then also Robert Downey Jr. Doom. So I don't know if that's like to say this will lead into the events of Doomsday, or like prequel style, or if this is going to be post Doomsday. Well, I guess it said it was post Doomsday.
It says following the events.
So
yeah, but which makes it,
if Doom is prevalent around, or if he's going to be I don't imagine you have him be the big scale Avenger villain, and now I'm going to be a specific Spider-Man villain, and then back to the movies.
I'm with you there. It seemed a bit too far-fetched. And that's the part that kind of stuck out to me. I'm like, why would RDJ join the cast unless it's like, I could see him be in a post-credit scene, or maybe like early in the movie, they flash back to something that happened in Doomsday, like an additional scene that we didn't see in Doomsday that featured Spider-Man and Dr. Doom. And then they're like going to be recontextualizing it in Spider-Man 4. And then RDJ appears again in Doomsday. I don't know. It's just like, why would you include RDJ on here? Like, let's just be spade here. If RDJ is in the cast, he's not just gonna have a super small role. It's gonna be RDJ. You don't have him. You don't pay him to join a movie without that kind of like thing. That's what makes.
Well, if we look to Homecoming,
he was on the poster, he was on the press tour and everything. Like
he is, because he's such a big name, but like he had maybe like 5 minutes of screen time.
Sure, but he was a pivotal character in the movie. I mean, not pivotal, but just like, he was a segment of the movie. He was part of Peter's arc.
Pivotal. Pivotal in the ideas of what this Peter's at in his life.
Exactly. And it seems weird that a main villain, it's like saying, like, we see Thanos in Infinity War, and then you expect Thanos to show up in like another side character movie before being in Endgame. That it didn't happen because it didn't really make sense, and I don't see that happening also with RDJ. I guess it all depends on what happens in Doomsday, but it just seems less likely. Like I could see that RDJ part being like fake or incorrect for some reason, like, or maybe somebody put RDJ down there because they know he's going to be in Doomsday, so maybe it's like a
Yeah, because sometimes with these productions that are filmed back to back, some things could get jumbled
Exactly.
between the two.
Yeah.
But if
yeah,
we're looking,
sorry to interrupt, but it
Yeah.
says like unlikely ally. Could unlikely ally be Vulture? Or is it Spider-Man?
probably Vulture. If we could, plug him back to the Homecoming arc that he's coming off of, where he didn't give up Peter to Scorpion, that Vulture, then like, hey, maybe there is an underlying like, the kid got in my way, but he has a good heart, shit like that. Save my daughter.
Nathan, let's be completely honest with ourselves here. If Vulture is in this movie, they are not recollecting anything that happened in Morbius. It didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Unless you pull these Sony villains in.
Oh God, I would hate that. I just don't think anything related to that is going to happen. But the big question here, Nathan, is if this thing is true. We've been talking for the past month and a half now about the symbiote story. The story.
Yes.
Do you think that this doesn't sound like a symbiote story at all, unless the deadly new threat is a Venom threat? What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny because they had just like teed up Null, but Null still seems to be quite trapped. So
yeah,
I really don't know. I don't know what it goes, but if it is that, then I can also see if it would be. I don't know, because like if they were to like do the thing and then end up bringing in like Tom Hardy in and stuff, like you think they would in this release? Do you think they would have Tom Hardy mentioned in this cast lineup over Keaton or
no? And I think even if Venom appears, Tom Hardy's not going to be. I think Tom Hardy's done. I think we'll get a Venom taking over a different character or something along those lines, or they could go like the Spider-Man 3 route where it's just focused on Peter interacting with the Venom entity.
yeah,
but I think Tom
this
Hardy
could also. That's true, and this could also be like if we are bringing Andrew in and the Vulture, this could be like their time to finally be like, yeah, all these Sony villains were in Andrew's world, and one of them slipped in with him, which like took it long enough.
That would be crazy. I would love that. That would make it all that won't make it all worth it, but I'll be like, okay, that'd be really cool. Agent Venom has been rumored as of the past couple of days. Agent Venom has been rumored.
That'd be so good. That is, I feel like, as equally as weird as it was to have a Venom trilogy without Peter, I feel like it would be weird as well to jump to like Flash Thompson, Agent Venom, especially this Flash Thompson, to an Agent Venom before this Peter ever has symbiote interactions, or Eddie has of this universe has a Venom.
Yeah, I agree, but Sony is gonna Sony, and if they do an Agent Venom movie, we'll see what happens with that. It seems weird to have an Agent Venom movie. Just in terms of like, the outside looking in, the Venom movies have been going downhill in terms of like quality and box office return. It seems weird to be like, okay, our next step after ending the Venom franchise, the next solo Spider-Man spinoff movie should be Agent Venom. It's like, really? What? So I don't know, even though it does make sense.
In fairness, if they needed somebody to be a Venom and they weren't going to go with Eddie, Matt Gargan has been Venom before, who is Scorpion. So if they wanted to pull him for that, they could. And then if they wanted to do an arc of like, I want power again, make a Scorpion suit, they could do that.
Dude, Matt Gargan, played by the fantastic actor from Better Call Saul, right? Mm-hmm. So he would be an incredible lead for like an Agent Venom solo movie, or even as like an antagonist in this movie. Like,
sure,
that'd be really cool. But yeah, I just wanted to showcase this rumor. I know we got to move on here, but take it with a grain of salt, guys.
I'll keep talking about this tiny little thing. Well, because also like trying to lead a normal life following the events of Doomsday. Is that to say we're gonna end Doomsday and like everything's chill on Earth anyway?
That seems weird. Like just following the casual events of Doomsday. I'm like, how did Doomsday end? Like what the hell happened to Doomsday? It's like what?
Because yeah, if I were to expect anything, especially of Earth, I would be like Doomsday is like now, like the Earth is now like 1984 with Doom. That's what I would picture, or something like that. But I doubt it would just be like, yeah, I'm not gonna really like focus on being Spidey after that whole my mentor was evil guy thing.
Yeah, it seems like a weird follow up. And now we have talked about in terms of like is Doomsday also going to end on a cliffhanger, or is Marvel going to want to do something different because they kind of already did the big like WTF cliffhanger to end all cliffhangers at the end of Infinity War, where everything seemed dire. Are you going to do the same exact thing for Doomsday? You could, but like
I would imagine since they're doing it like two-parter style again, Russo's doing both back to back in the same 2 year span.
Well, yeah, but also if you're a director, do you want to do the same shit you did 5 years ago?
Yes, that's why we got him. It's safe.
You're very true. I mean, they're as safe as you can get, so I wouldn't put it past them.
Especially if you're leading into even bigger thing with like, because they're already like bringing in a big thing because it's like, hey, RDJ's back and he's Doctor Doom, and it's like, well, fuck, I gotta see what's happening here, and then you're gonna lead right into Secret Wars, so like, I gotta see what's happening here.
Yeah, that's true. And yeah, you're right. Like I think when I think about it, it is the Russo brothers. They are safe directors. It's going to be fun. It's going to be chaotic, but it's going to be safe. But either way, like again, following the event of Doomsday, and then Peter wants to live a normal life, it just seems a bit odd. So again, take this with a huge grain of salt.
Well, sorry, this is like other bit here. Step back away from responsibility, Spider-Man, however, peace is short-lived when the deadly new threat emerges, endangering his friends and forcing Peter to reconsider his promise. I imagine that is referring to him no longer bringing his friends into the fold, letting them forget him.
That's what I went to as well. Yeah.
Even though the promise was, I will tell you, I will find you, and then I didn't tell you.
Yeah, I mean that could go into the whole Zendaya of it all. Like, and I think if Andrew is in this movie, it could create an interesting parallel to their romantic journeys. Andrew spoke about how in his universe, he let the anger get to him. He lost his Emma Stone. He's kind of been lost. Peter, he didn't lose Zendaya. He actively separated himself from MJ by his own choices, unlike Peter, who had no choice. I think it could create an interesting emotional parallel where it's like Peter could seem lost where Andrew initially was, and Andrew can kind of like pick him up. But yeah. Anything else here?
Well, there's one word. No, yeah, don't. Yeah, if you call this number in Culver, Burbank, California. Yeah,
let's not do that. One news before we jump into our TV show stuff. Nathan, I know you for a lot of things, Nathan. The Marvel guy, Spider-Man guy, they're also the Godzilla guy. And they did confirm they are doing a new Godzilla movie. It has been officially greenlit by Toho Japan, and it's directed by Takashi Yamazaki. He's coming back, and he's directing this, which is very exciting. He, again, same director who did Godzilla -1, one of the best films of this 2020 so far. It's just a phenomenal film. Yeah. He said he did get a lot of offers from a lot of different international studios, but he decided to commit to Toho and continue with Godzilla. What are your thoughts? This is phenomenal news.
It's really cool. I don't think you hear this and think like, fuck. Like, not at all. This sounds great. You know, he's back. He did such a wonderful job with -1. In regards to this one, I know he said he was interested in bringing in another kaiju, so we would likely see Godzilla fighting another monster. Whether that's an original one or an existing one, time will tell.
Yeah, I forgot he mentioned that. Yeah, like I always ask you this with our American franchise, like what can they bring in next? They did so much, but in terms of Godzilla -1, they haven't really dived into anything, super crazy. This one's kind of like, I don't want to say Godzilla -1 was anything safe because it wasn't, but it was just a good classic Godzilla movie, Godzilla versus our fantastic human characters. Do you think do you think we're going to see our human characters again? Is this going to be a direct follow-up to Godzilla -1? Or do you think completely new timeline, new universe, new characters? What do you think?
Presumably it's a follow-up, just given the alluded dark nature of the ending with what happens to what's her name?
I forget her name, but yeah, his wife there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, with the stuff like growing on her neck and stuff, which like to that point is like, does she become the kaiju? That'd be awful.
Let's not.
I don't want it to happen. I don't want it to happen. But yeah, it makes me wonder if you were to bring, however, a original or one of the original monsters, I should say, the pre-existing ones. It's interesting because thematically speaking, you kind of want it, like there was such like rich storytelling with the inclusion of Godzilla in relation to the human characters with the first film, that you would kind of assume that they would probably do it again. It wouldn't just be like mindless action. And there's also the other side of this, which is like usually when we're watching Godzilla fight a monster, it's to save the planet from said opposing monster. Even if he's a villain, he's just like, well, fuck, I live here.
Yeah.
But that is also an interesting side of the coin too. Is like, yeah, we want Godzilla to beat this thing, but also we want Godzilla to die too. Like, this is not a good Godzilla.
Yeah. This Godzilla, like at least in 2014's Godzilla, we saw him like defeat the aliens, and he was like creating a lot of destruction. And we were technically going against Godzilla, but also we were like, let them fight. This one in -1, a monster, like just straight up, like destroying everything in his path. There is beautifully so. There was a symbol of like, it was a monster born from chaos, which is how you should do a Godzilla movie, right? Like this is born from our own, like, sins.
Yeah.
So that could still be a prevalent factor in the sequel if he is like, let them fight, go against another monster. But yeah, like this one, it's a very different look. Like this isn't like the kind of Godzilla like we're watching in Godzilla versus Kong. It's like, yeah, let's go. Like this is a different world. This is a different beast.
Yeah. In regards to this one, though, if you wanted to do something that's thematically rich, I think it would be smart for them to pull the smog monster Hedorah.
Okay.
In the present time that we're living in, and what a huge crisis we are in with climate change today, something that reflects the mass pollution of the planet and is born from it would be a very worthwhile story to tell thematically and deeply. But also it'd be interesting to know, like, if Takashi chooses not to follow with our characters, he could also choose to set the film in whatever time period he wants. So it would be interesting to see what he would choose from that point. I mean, presumably he would probably stick around this, but I don't know. Because also, the first film was also so reflective of the importance for the Japanese people in one of the most dire times in history. I wonder if you would do that again, because it would be set in Japan, no doubt. Actually, it would be kind of interesting because we know that Japan built up from their ashes, like even better to like such big technological degrees. Japan is such a flourishing place in that field. it would be a wonder if, like, what if you took that aspect and, like, we built up better from facing a Godzilla if he wanted to pull a Mecha Godzilla, so that we could also
Oh.
tell a story of, like, hey, we are still against Godzilla, and now we may have an even better fighting chance, which they've done in other Mecha Godzilla movies. You could absolutely do it.
That would be a really cool idea. It would be Godzilla +1.
Yeah.
You know, they added another one.
They reset the scoreboard. Oh no.
Exactly. It's a zero sum game. But yeah,
Quarter
it's
two.
always fun. That would be actually Godzilla Quarter 2 is a baller title.
Use anime title.
But yeah, you know, I love getting your takes on these Godzilla movies. At least from my perspective, I love these characters so much. The happy as you can get, given that she is like potentially scarred. Like, part of me is hoping like we could be done with it. So in my mind, I can like create a headcanon where it's just like, oh, you know, they lived happily ever after. Nothing bad happened. Even though it's like you see Godzilla like blinking alive or whatever at the end of the movie. So it's like he is gonna come back. But part of me also was like, I want to be done with them so I can have the happy ending, but also I love these characters so much that I wouldn't mind seeing them again. When you know, like the direct follow up to the first ever Godzilla movie that we saw on stream, yeah, are they ever going to or was that sequel directly following that movie, the first Godzilla movie? Was it also canon, or was it also just different?
You mean Shin Godzilla?
Or no, the second ever like Godzilla movie. Like,
ever in history.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So in that'd be Godzilla Raids Again, which was the following year, which was also the first time Godzilla fought another monster, which is Anguirus, who I'm still dying to see in the MonsterVerse. I believe it was kind of a follow-up because the people who discovered Godzilla in that film, because I think they discover him in like a more Arctic setting, they're aware of what Godzilla is. So like, it's Godzilla, and that was just like a year later. So like, and this wasn't like the folklore tale legend says that there is a Godzilla out there. Like they're like, no, it's Godzilla. Oh no, sound the alarm. So you know, pseudo kind of again, like it's kind of tricky because there's been like a lot of instances where they'll just like start a film and, you know, it'd be like, yeah, we had the previous ones canon, or they'll start, because then they also made like in the same like show era, the first era, like there was a curvature of like Godzilla is like this disastrous horror, and like we have to get all the monsters away, to like Godzilla is a friend of children and he saves the earth and looking out for the planet. And even in like the second Heisei era in the 80s and 90s, they were on like a string of releases, which was funny because like they weren't like sequels to each other, but like each installment was a standalone direct sequel to 1954's, like again and again. It was kind of funny that they kept doing it. They kept like ignoring what they put out, and they were like, and then this one's a sequel, and then this one is like 7 timelines. So what is your question in regards to that, though?
No. I was wondering, like, is he gonna, because -1 was so like similar in like had a lot of throwbacks to the first Godzilla movie? Maybe Takashi also wanted to follow up similar to the first Godzilla movie and do something similar, but also very different as well. Similar being a direct follow up instead of an anthology movie. But yeah, I'm fine with whatever they decide to do. I think Takashi just coming back as a director is like the best possible option here.
It is interesting that when you really look at -1, as fantastical as something like Godzilla is, every combatant to Godzilla in that movie was pretty like scientifically realistic in its approach of like, you know, bringing Godzilla down through the water pressure of the ocean and such. So they didn't go like too fantastical with something like we made an oxygen destroyer. But if they wanted to introduce a Sarazawa scientist to make an oxygen destroyer, I wouldn't be mad at that either, because Godzilla is already such a fantastical concept in and of itself. If you wanted to branch out to the more science fiction of it, you could.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all. Yeah, introducing some of the classical characters.
I don't think you're gonna see him do like the aliens are invading and they're mind controlling the kaiju, which they've done.
Yeah. But if he wants to get fantastical, I think we're always open for it. But because this is starting production, people have been wondering like when this could possibly come out. I think using my kind of logic, if they just now greenlit it, I would think, given how long production usually is for a Godzilla movie, this could be very long, or it could just be because of the success, the huge success of -1, they could want to get it out sooner rather than later. I would have to assume 2027 at the earliest here. That's my opinion. I think 2026 is optimistic. I think pre-production, we're already in late October or early November right now. Pre-production in production, special effects going all the way for next year. We don't even have a cast yet. Like, I think they could start filming this thing in 2026, maybe early 2026, and start getting an official release date in 2027, which would be a good turnaround, just a 4-year turnaround for a Godzilla movie. Pretty strong.
It'll be interesting because I can imagine with how much of a success the first film was, that they'll probably give a bit of a budget increase for this one, which could mean more hands in the VFX department, which would be nice. But at the same time, I believe Takashi would probably still do the same role he did in the first one, where he was also the supervising director of the special effects, because he comes from that background as well, and so he directs based on how he knows the effects are going to be. And I don't think he would want to give up the richness of having his hand on that steering wheel as well, because it paid off so well, right? With what was it, the $15 million budget, and it looked gorgeous.
It looked gorgeous, and that had to be one of my favorite visual effects Oscar wins of all time. Like, that's just crazy. Looking back at last year, the little movie that could from Japan blew away box office expectations, got onto everybody's like best of the year list, and it won best visual effects against the likes of like Mission Impossible, the other Marvel movies, and it was a great win. I'm so happy because, especially during the time of visual effects are so like not belittled, but just like in Hollywood especially, it's just like visual effects and the horrible working conditions for a visual effects studio in Japan to win best visual effects. It was just a really cool like spotlight.
That's wonderful. And at the same time, they didn't like cram any of these effects artists. They allowed you have a set hour days, weekends are off. Like, they were very generous with it.
Exactly, which is why I love those videos when they got nominated. They were like a huge family. It was like not a lot of people either. It was like you said, it was like they had good working conditions, a decent amount of people. It's like they're not overworking and hiring all this staff like that. It was just a good family unit working together to create one of the most visually gorgeous movies of last year. Whew. So yeah, I think let's push it on. It's already 10:55. Jesus. Let's do this thing, Nathan. Let's talk about what the people came here for. Agatha All Along, the finale, 2-part finale. We don't have time to break every single thing down from each scene of the episode. But Nathan, we all don't have crazy Nathan sleep schedules. But buddy, what do you think of this finale? What do you think of this finale, man?
I liked it a lot, man. I loved this finale. I think this was a very emotionally resonant one. I think it was very I felt the whole show was very well handled. I mean, I think we both were kind of feeling like we were not having a bad time with the first 2 episodes by any means, but we were like, okay, it is the norm of the Marvel episodic series. We're like, okay, But then as soon as we hit like episode 3 onward, it just kept kind of like building up to like, oh, we're like, this is interesting, this is creative, oh, this is getting deep, this is getting kind of dark, this, oh wow, they're really like going for some things, they're really like taking some swings, and I felt that they, committed to that all the way to the end.
I agree. I think it was very strong. It was a very strong series that learned how to pick up and focus on the important character dynamics and character relationships. I think, like you said, I was initially worried about the supporting cast, but I grew to like a lot of them for different reasons. And I think they fulfilled their roles especially well. In regards to the finale, I think some of the emotional aspects didn't hit me as much as I wanted it to. I think most likely speaking at like Agatha's death, but not death, right? It was a convenient way to like create her becoming a Force ghost for all intents and purposes. And or just a ghost.
A ghoul, if you like.
Ghoul.
We should watch that. We should have watched that just for the absurdity.
It's not a good movie. I don't want to watch it.
It's not, but that's what would be fun about it.
You're right. There is no bad movie when we're doing a commentary with Nathan. All these commentaries, they end up being fun one way or the other.
Was there ever a time we watched something we were just like, God, let me out?
Great point. I don't think so. I don't think so. You're the one who created all the playlists and shit. Alien Resurrection was bad, but it was fun bad.
I remember Predator 2. I was falling asleep. I don't think that was the movie's fault, though. I think it was just me.
Yeah, I think.
Did you see me? I think I fell asleep on camera.
I think you did. I was like, Nathan, what do you think about this part?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm like trying to stay awake. I'm like, the fucking underground sewer.
Yeah, Predator 2 wasn't that great, and also AVP 2 was oof.
I think that is the one where we're just like, oh God,
and
I can't see, and if I did, I don't want.
Yeah, just nuke the town already. But yeah, yeah, and I think I'm actually with Draven on that. I think that emotional moment of the episode, I tweeted this out immediately after the episode. I think the finale was good, but some of the emotional aspects didn't hit me as much because I didn't buy the emotional swings that the finale was trying to let me, sit with or go for. Because a couple of things here at the finale, the big reveal was that it was Billy all along, which I had a small theory about last week. I'm like, could this be a thing? Because just that one clip of Agatha holding Billy's head. Granted, now that we have context, that scene was about them trying to get Tommy, not so her trying to get Billy to break out of the road spell. But either way, I was on the right track-ish. It was possible. But either way, Billy is like dealing with the repercussions of what he has done. He created this hex of the road, and in his mind, he felt like he's a murderer. There's a legit line where he's like, am I a murderer then? And then Agatha has to laugh it off and be like, well, you killed Sharon Hart, but like I killed Alice. Lilia died of her own accord, and you saved Jennifer. So you're not really a murderer. You killed one person. I mean, you're still a murderer, but
yes, she kind of like reassured him, just like, I was gonna kill them all from the jump, but it had this road thing not happen. So like, in theory, you saved more lives than what would have come out in the end.
Exactly, and then he gets even mad at her. It's so mad at her that he goes and wants to banish her. That whole sequence, I didn't buy the whole like, I'm gonna banish you, Agatha, for doing what? It's like, why are you mad at her for here? I didn't buy that. And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna help you find Tommy. It's like, okay, now they're just friends again. I didn't buy that emotional swing for me. I felt like that was an important thing because they want to set themselves apart from like I think what Jack Schaefer was trying to do is set herself apart from Wanda, where Wanda was kind of like grappling with what she did, but Wanda had to hurry up and leave. She didn't really have time to like fully grapple with what she did with all the citizens of Westview. Meanwhile, Billy is a much more like, at least in this show, a much more empathetic character, and he's really grappling with what he possibly did to them. I didn't buy that moment in the finale, but I think that was kind of like my only major gripe. I think episode 7 was a bit stronger than episode 8 as well. I think, even though I liked episode 8 was stronger than episode 9. I think,
Yeah.
Even though I did like the Nicholas scratch, I think that part was the best part of the finale, which I think people are. I think I'm the opposite of certain people. I think certain people didn't like how extended that flashback was with her son. But I liked it. As a huge fan of, favorite movie ever, Arrival, this had big Arrival comparisons here. And spoiler alert for 2016's Arrival, if you have not seen that yet. You've seen it, right, Nathan?
Yeah.
Let's
make a baby.
Baby. Yeah. Speaking of baby, Agatha is pregnant with Nicholas. And he's a stillborn, which means he's going to die. She sees Rio, and Rio's like, it's time. And Agatha's like, just give me more time. I need more time. And we don't see the initial relationship start between her, Agatha and Rio. But at this point, you can kind of understand they have a close relationship. And Rio grants Agatha more time with her son. I think all this stuff with her son being very empathetic and not wanting to continue the witch's road, or not continue the scheme that they're doing, while also like musically and creatively starting the witch's road via just a ballad of his own. And I felt like it was very cool that what was so cool about this was it's very historical. It's true to historical life in terms of how culture spreads. Like back then, there's no smartphones or anything to spread, culture and art a lot of the time. It's just through society, and through him just singing the Witch's Road ballad from town to town to town across the U.S. or wherever they are. It kind of like grew into a life of its own, and I kind of like that aspect of it all. It was kind of like true to folklore.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that whole entire sequence with that, and then just recontextualizing it all. Draven says, I also like the Witch's Road song, but damn, I didn't need to hear it on loop for half an hour.
I think it works thematically well, especially it being like the emotional origin of, like it's like, okay, yeah, the catchy song, but then it's like, oh my god, wait, this was like her son basically wrote this, and she fleshed it out with him, and then just seeing like where it goes on to where building off of like the very like gravesite of him when the first witch approaches her, and then she starts scheming away of like, oh yeah, no, wait, I can show you the road. It's just over here. And that whole scheme, which was a really fun time jump through the different sequences there. I thought that was a great time.
I agree, man. It was kind of like horrifying, but not horrifying. It had the same tonal balance as I think the rest of the series did, where it knew to be comedic because Agatha is kind of like a sly kind of character, but also was dark. She's just there with the baby, and she comes in saying, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And then the screen cuts over. You just hear screams, and then you just see Agatha's like sly smile. And I think what was so cool about this was that, like, especially in context of everything we know about Agatha, and especially episode 4 or 5, I think, with her mother, it's like, Nicholas kept on asking, like, why are you doing this, Mom? Like, do we have to continue doing this? And I think, just emotionally, I think this part did hit. Emotionally, it grew out of a desire to, in some case, like protect herself or fight back against what happened to her when she was young, years ago, when her own mother and other witches tried to kill her. And I think that kind of really scarred her, and it caused her to quote unquote act first and, kill other witches, even if they won't betray her, kill other witches and Agatha use her own gifts in terms of like absorbing their powers. Kind of like,
you have to wonder if it was just born out of like the initial like raising of Agatha, right? Because her mother is like instantly fearful in like that flashback from WandaVision where she just sees her daughter as a monster because like her primary power being the ability to take others' power to the point where they get drained of all life. Obviously that's dangerous, but like, if you could like show the ways of why this is wrong, the negative impacts, and how to like properly control the power, then probably wouldn't have developed into this outlandish level. And especially if it gets to the point where like, yeah, we're gonna like fully execute you right now, and then Agatha uses said power to not only live, but by taking all of their abilities, she probably feels that level of empowerment over that biggest sense of danger that she was about to be killed by her own family, no less. And so it's like, okay, I'm kind of attached to this feeling. I'm going to continuously feel this level of power so I feel secure and that this won't happen to me anymore.
Exactly, man. Great point. And I think it was really contextualized or visually well with each step, each time she's doing it. She's so gleeful, but also she's respecting, like sentimentally. I don't know the word there, but just like in such in a sweet sentimental way, she's understanding what Nicholas is saying in terms of like why she's doing this. She's just telling him just like we have to do this. Like the way of being a witch is very, dangerous. And, we got to protect ourselves, just telling him these lies and things to convince him. But, everybody has made a point of it, though, that like the one time she doesn't do it, that's the same night that like Nicholas dies. And what a scene, man. Like that was a fantastic scene. And I think also I made a note about this. The first tweet I made after the finale, I think, and I mentioned it early in the season. The secret sauce of this show is Aubrey fucking Plaza. Fantastic performance as Death. Like this, I think she was born to play this character in terms of like this very pivotal mythological role. Agatha said early in the season that like people die, or maybe it was just this episode. Yeah, she said, "Come on, team! Like people die every minute of the day. Like 10 to 1,000 people die every minute." And Rio has like this big job of like welcoming them to the afterlife or whatever. And I think every single scene of Rio welcoming people to the afterlife was just done phenomenally well with this ominous aura around her. It was very cool.
It's really cool because she is a witch in and of herself as well, being like the first green witch. So the fact that she plays like that high energy witchy level, the maniacal laughing and just like the enjoyment of the chaos, she's very well at capturing that. But also I do really love that whenever we showcase a scene where she is taking somebody over to the other side, she's not being like all in their face and stuff. She's almost like on the bridge of sympathy, of just like I know this is a lot to take in, and I'm not gonna crack jokes or anything really. I'm letting you take this in. This is the time, but take your time.
Yeah, and I think what was so cool about this was that you're exactly right. Like she's sympathetic, but also she's just very real with it. It's just very natural. It's like with Alice, it was so sad when Alice was like, I can't be dead. It's like I just I got out of my mom's curse, or what I perceived as my mom's curse. Like I have so much of my life to live here. I have a role to play here. And then Rio is like, you're the protector. You did your role. Now it's time to go on. It's like, damn. It's like that's just it's her time. And then especially going back to Nicholas here, Agatha's son, when it's Nicholas's time, he wakes up from his sleep. His ghost at least wakes up, and she's like, kiss your mom goodbye. It's time to go. And it's just like, damn, like it really hits emotionally in terms of like, that's her job, and especially as somebody who like, from her perspective, you can assume like, she loved Agatha so much so that she's the one person who was willing to give Nicholas an extra, 8 to 10 years there. But it was still his time and he had to go. And I go back to the Arrival comparison of it all in terms of like, in Arrival, spoiler alert again for Arrival, 2016, it's one of the best movies of all time, guys. In that movie, Amy Adams' character, I forget her name right now. She has a choice at the end of the movie. Every flashback that she thought was a flashback was in fact the future. This future life that she has with the daughter that she has not yet raised. She knows that daughter is going to die, and she gets a choice. Do I, want to have a kid, or do I, refuse to have a daughter and not let her die, basically? And she decides to continue having a kid. It's a lot better to cherish the life than not live at all. And I think that's what Agatha, in some semblance, is going through there, was like, but in a darker way, right? In terms of like, she wants to continue have that life with Nicholas, but also when she dies, she doesn't take it very well, and it kind of like cements her act of like killing for years to come.
Yeah, it is like a way more unfortunate scenario because like, yeah, she knows that at some point Nicholas is going to be taken, but she does not know when. And I think that's the difference there, which kind of makes it even more scary. And it does kind of make you wonder, like, is it worse to even let it happen to begin with, to get that level of attachment where you don't know when the point's going to be? Because when it does come, it's very devastating just hearing her cry out, like because we physically see Nicholas leave, but then like Agatha wakes up and his body's still there, and it's just the pain.
It's extremely painful. Just seeing him like, hey, wake up. So yeah, I love the entire sequence.
It also kind of, and this is like an interpretation, this is nothing like concrete, but you do kind of like wonder, even like stemming off the idea of Agatha promising to deliver the bodies of the coven to Rio, is there a sense that maybe Agatha was killing these witches to begin with as kind of a payment for more time with Nicholas? And then the one night that it doesn't go down, he leaves?
That's a good point too. I didn't even consider that. And yeah, I initially thought like a lot of Agatha killing these witches was a transactional thing. She was doing it for Rio. But no, I think a lot of the time she was just doing it out of her own volition. And kind of like what we said, it could have some emotional backbone in terms of like what happened to her when she was younger, kind of like that, affecting her and her actions in the future. But yeah, it created this whole very cool montage of going throughout time, the 1920s, the 60s, the 80s with the 90s or whatever with the leather jackets. It was really cool.
Man, this really is a testament to the show and like the character of Agatha just really being so layered that we can have these different type of interpretations. Like again, these two that aren't concrete, like is Agatha stealing these lives out of trauma? Is she stealing them out of penance for time with her son? Different things like that. And you would a lot of like lead up, plenty of people who were like, Agatha show, what's the point? Who asked for this? What do we need this for? But then like, no, we're fucking delivering the story here though, man. This is the Bad Batch effect that I'm now coining. You're like, why do I need a whole show of that? And it's like, oh, here's why, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Tug at your heartstrings.
I mean, I think Jack Schaefer is a secret sauce. I think in general, this was a very well done series. Not perfect, had some flaws, but like emotionally it hit at times. The cast was strong, and I think Agatha as a whole was a very well layered straightforward and very, 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 very fun character to follow throughout this. She's not a good person. She's not. And she'll tell that to your face. But it created a very fun moment when a very bad person like Agatha can get sentimental and realize the error of her ways, but still double down on it, but then go back on it and then double down on it. It created a very fun, unpredictable show at times. And like her arc with Billy, going off of what we've been talking about with Nicholas, she did see Billy as like a second son in a way. I think that through line was very well tracked throughout the series. It was cliche, but it worked. I really liked the mother son cliche of it all, the trope. I think it was really well done for the most part. I think minus that initial qualm that I had in the finale. Besides that bit, I think I liked their dynamic in episode 8, where they're still on the make believe road. And she helps him. She has a choice, right? Where she wakes it up first in the first minutes of episode 8, and she's talking to Rio, and she's like, the deal is like Rio, and this is a big one. Rio's like had been after Billy because he cheated death, Final Destination style. Yeah. It's like he cheated death, and death's coming for you. You can't just cheat it; it's gonna get you eventually. And she makes a deal with Agatha being like, okay, I need you to convince Billy to basically turn himself in because I can't take him. Which is a very cool dynamic. I kind of liked that, like the early stakes of it all, even though that wasn't going to happen. It created some interesting stakes to kind of like test Agatha's character in the 9th hour. Or the 11th hour. And it made a cool dynamic. And then I like the whole also, how do I phrase this? I liked the scene of her talking to Billy, teaching him how he is capable of like saving Tommy, of putting Tommy in another body. That's where I mentioned earlier the line of like, hey, people die every minute. There's a lot of potential bodies basically to put Tommy's soul into. I thought it was kind of, how do I phrase this? Kind of like cheesy, weird, the way they go about like showing Tommy's the body that Tommy eventually is going to go into is death. I thought like of all the things you tried to show us like some dumb kids drowning, some poor kid. I was like, it just felt weird. Like I think I get it in the sense of like this poor innocent boy drowned because some boys are playing a prank on him. He deserves like a second life or whatever. It just felt weird. Did you think that, or were you fine with it? What are your thoughts on that whole sequence?
I liked the imagery because of the frantic panic of the scene of flashing to find this location and find this person. Okay. I thought it fit together very well. I also can buy not seeing the boy physically because they may not have cast Tommy yet.
Yeah, and that part I understood. Yeah,
and I'm sure like when we get to the next project, which is probably going to be Vision Quest, what I think Jack Schaefer is overseeing as well. They'll probably shoot a full scene of the person drowning, whoever the cast is Tommy, and he'll come out of the water like reborn out of the water.
Yeah, funnily enough, I think I was reading like a IGN or something interview. I don't think Jack Schaefer is like show running the Vision Quest series.
Maybe not. But I believe she is like overseeing the story of it at least.
Yeah, and there's like the increased rumors that Jack Schaefer is secretly developing the Scarlet Witch movie post Secret Wars. But it does get me nervous because like after watching this show, I'm like, every WandaVision spinoff show needs to be connected to Jack Schaefer's writing. I think. I think that would just be the best case of action. I think now that I think about it, I think Vision Quest is being done by the Star Trek Picard season 3 showrunner or writer. But either way, I'm with you. I think I liked, and that part I liked. Like maybe some of the imagery didn't work for me, or like the sequence of events, but I liked the frantic nature of it all. Billy's freaking out. He's not understanding his ability. He doesn't even understand if it was fully successful or not. I think me and you know, like Billy was probably successful there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I think it also does kind of like help the frantic panic that comes with the realization of making the road as well. Because like in that moment when he's like, I'm saving Tommy, but am I killing this boy in order to do so? Like not truly knowing that. And the answer is like no, he's not. The boy was already set to die, similar with the original body of William. He just died in the car accident. That was always set to happen. And Tommy just saw an empty vest, an opportunity, indirectly. He unconsciously, but he took the chance, and his life was saved. And Rio, I think this also like settles pretty well that like Rio is also aware that if Billy is successful at the end of his journey, then he's going to free Tommy, and if that's the case, then it's going to come down to Agatha needing to turn her soul over, which she ends up doing. So I think we're in the clear that Billy and Tommy can exist and stay alive.
Definitely, I totally agree with that. So that was a cool scene. I think they did the action at the house very well. It continued off of what Lilia warned her when she says "coward, duck," and Agatha ducks. And I think overall it was a very fun sequence. I think what fantastic costume design for Rio's death. I think every costume, like she had like this beautiful top on. It was like fantastic pants. I thought every design in episode 8 and in the finale, like all throughout time, I think Rio had just some gorgeous costumes.
Yeah. Yeah, the dress with the leg slit, the veil that she wears, and the actual like the real prosthetic that they made of the skull face, that like they have VFX to like sink it into where it would be, but it is practical. That's really cool.
Yeah, I loved all of that. I thought that was very cool. Oh yeah, go on.
I feel like you're about to say you weren't a big fan of Billy's suit.
Nah.
I'm about to say I really like Billy's suit because I don't know if you saw the BTS pic as well.
I like the.
It has the very intricate detail of. Yeah, it has the very intricate detail of having parts of Wanda's costume etched into like the seams, while also the same imprint of Vision's cape on the inner side of it on the back of Billy's cape as well. I thought that was very cool.
I saw that. Like I saw that on Twitter like the following day, and I'm like, I liked the behind the scenes of it all. I think up close it looks cool. Like if I could see the details of it all. If this was like a costume on a convention floor and I was like looking at it, I think that would be really cool. But I think in action, it just came across. I know this is a comic book show, but it just came across as a bit goofy and a bit like tame. Because in the context of the show, it just seemed like he just came down in a blue suit with a red cape.
The reveal of it is kind of funny because it is just kind of like a medium wide shot of him full view, just kind of plainly centered, floating down. Where like I feel like most costumes are like you start with that big zoom in, and then you pull back to reveal the full detail. It's like, oh shit, it's the hero.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I couldn't really capture the details of his suit in context of the action that was going on during that whole sequence. But overall, I think the action was solid. I'm glad it didn't take up a lot of. They didn't do the whole like WandaVision finale where it was like 10 minutes of just shooting laser balls at each other. I'm so glad they didn't go that route, and they centered it on the emotional tug and pull that Billy, Rio, and Agatha had there. And Agatha predictably sacrifices herself. We saw that coming. I didn't think Agatha would die fully die, but she does. She turns into a flower bed and becomes shortly after a ghost. I also think it would have been nice if they sunk in more of Agatha's death, but I couldn't really buy it. I think that was because we knew it was a 2-part finale, which was unfortunate. Because I'm like, maybe if this was just like, I don't know, even if this was like a penultimate episode, like, and we knew there was going to be an episode the week afterwards, I still think it might not have hit as hard. But I think the act of her sacrificing stuff was still a solid execution. And it makes total sense for the character. And
Yeah.
I don't mind it. It's no like she was going after Billy. Billy cheated death, but Agatha still dies in his place. Like she takes the place of Billy, so Billy gets an extra lease on life for the future. For those wondering, like what's stopping Rio from just taking Billy's powers now? It's like Rio said like she can't just like physically do it. He has to be willing to die, and B, she got Agatha's body as like a trade. Even though Rio didn't want that to happen. So that part was very cool. So yeah. And then overall, I think that the biggest part there at the end was the whole like Billy all along reveal. He goes back home. He looks around his room, and it was very much a usual suspects Kaiser Sose moment where he looks around the interrogation room. He was like, "Wait a second."
Not a Vin Diesel moment.
No, not a Vin Diesel moment at all.
He'd have to be on the road for it to be one.
Exactly. Yeah, he has to be sniffing the gasoline, that kind of stuff.
Things that Dom didn't do in the insane. There's no way he ducked out and was just like Diesel.
But if he did though, that's a deleted scene. That's a deleted scene.
If Vin Diesel bent down, tasted gas on the ground, and said Diesel, everybody would be doing the Leo meme 10 times over.
I hope so. But yeah. What we got here was a very fun reveal. There's a lot of Wizard of Oz posters. There's like boots that he made up in terms of like, hey, you gotta take your shoes off, kind of thing.
Trees, just overall designs, and realizing that a lot of the different like styles and properties were based off of a lot of like film and TV properties that he watches, that he's into. Exactly.
So
as Wanda did.
As Wanda did. So it was a very fun reveal. And then the whole contextualization of Agatha already understanding that, given that like she had killed tons of people along the way, and she was just making sly remarks throughout the entire series. Was very fun. But overall, I want to hurry up and get to Penguin because I don't have much time here left. But overall, Nathan, what are your overall thoughts on Agatha? Like, is this higher up on your Disney Plus list or the bottom? What do you think, man?
It felt pretty higher because I think I did end up ranking it.
Oh, cool. I haven't done my full ranking yet. Or do you have it ready for you right now? Or?
I'm queuing it up. Okay,
but I haven't fully ranked it, but I think this is definitely top 4, right? I think Loki season 1, WandaVision season 1, Miss Marvel, of course. I think Miss Marvel probably still number 1. Miss Marvel, then Loki, then WandaVision, and then probably Agatha. I think WandaVision is still above Agatha. I'm not sure, but I don't mind people who think Agatha is better than WandaVision. I wouldn't mind that take either.
That's me.
Oh,
as it turns out, I think Agatha, in terms of just like the shows, not reading like the full of it all.
Yeah.
I got Agatha like right under Loki, and those are the top.
Yeah. So what are you top 4?
Shows. So like from top to bottom, it would be Loki, Agatha, Miss Marvel, WandaVision. Yeah,
that works. I actually, the more I think about it, I might have to put Agatha above WandaVision. The whole Agatha had a whole subplot that I just did not like, with the whole sword agent guys and them, like, the whole sword stuff was just so bogus. I just didn't like it at all, especially in hindsight and how they ended it. I think Agatha had more fun moments.
I think the biggest difference is like when it comes to something like WandaVision, which credit to it, finding their footing. It's the first actual like Marvel Studios TV show.
Yeah.
We were so intrigued by like exploring the worlds and the different areas of the sitcoms within the Hex, and then to be like but what's Darcy reading on the on the vitals of the town? We
Yeah.
go back to the actual like headquarters and shit, like trying to break into the hex. Whereas like a majority of Agatha takes place just we're on the road, we're either in the trial or we're on the road itself, and we don't get out of it until we're done with the road.
Yeah. And I think Jack was creating a much tighter script. Everything was just connected to Agatha's journey, Billy's journey, and everything in between. And the supporting cast was much stronger than in WandaVision, where some of the stuff I liked, like Monica Rambeau and the kids, stuff like that. But most of the time, I'm just like, I liked like Patty LuPone's episode is just phenomenal. Probably still the strongest episode of the series.
Yeah.
And of a Disney Plus in general. I mean, of Marvel series in general.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I love like Wanda's whole journey and stuff. I just I rewatched Infinity War last night.
Of course you did.
Yeah, okay. I doesn't happen as often as you might think. But you know, I'm just watching like all the scenes with Wanda and Vision. I'm just like, I don't want it to go where it's going. I'm feeling all the heart and just thinking about all the events in WandaVision. I'm like, man, dude, it's so good. But then when I'm watching Agatha, man, like the whole time, if I'm not just like swept up in something like Patty LuPone's main episode, I'm just like enthralled by a lot of like the spooky elements in nature that they really commit to throughout the entire season.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I think in general this was a fun show to watch, and week to week create all these kind of theories. I think visually it was fun. The writing was sharp. The dialogue was sharp. I like a lot of the characters. Wasn't extremely strong in terms of like best shows of the year, but like I liked the journey, man. It was very fun to talk about. I think Agatha and Rio's dynamic was very cool. Agatha's backstory was very fascinating. And Billy wasn't the most intriguing character, but Billy and Agatha as a duo had some very great scenes, in my opinion. And I think a lot of the actors and actresses did a great job here. And, it goes without saying, like, I liked how unabashedly gay the show was. I loved that so much. It was like they gave no fucks, especially for a Disney Plus show.
Yeah.
They really gave no fucks. And I loved that. I admired that as well. Very strong writing on that part. But yeah, let's talk about the Penguin, episode 7, the penultimate episode. Nathan, Oz, pretty fucked up. Wow. That flashback was haunting. What a way to start the episode. Holy fucking shit.
Yeah, as soon as I saw them at the bottom and I'm noticing the rain, I'm like, oh no. Not like this.
Oh, not like
this. And now it starts closing the door. Not like this.
That was so like I mentioned, it was haunting, it was unsettling. What'd you say?
It was a morbid.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of get the sense that like at the initial start, when he's like later at home and he's just kind of like looking out the window and he's realizing they're not back yet. This was never the initial intent, but he's also not thinking far ahead enough to think that like they're drowning. Because granted, kids don't think of every true scenario, and he's a very young kid at this point, so I can imagine he's probably not like familiar with like this sewer system and how it's like gonna flood through or anything. But I don't think he's as remorseful as he probably should be because he has all the time with his mom now.
Exactly. I think I'm a little less lenient of an interpretation than you are. I mean, I think he locks him up and he runs home. And I think there's still a chance for him to go back. But like you said, when he looks out the window, looks back at his mom and decides to cuddle up with her, knowing it's pouring rain outside. I think you don't have to be a genius to understand water systems. Water rises, especially in the sewer metro levels, whatever. I think he fully knows what's happening and he's refusing to help his brothers. He fully knows they will die. and he's going to have his mother to himself. I think this is important. This was such a masterful episode, I think. In general, I think this is one of my favorite episodes of the series. It was a masterful episode for a lot of reasons here. It cements Oz's evil nature from the beginning. I don't want to say like he's evil from birth, whatever, but like this guy was an evil character from a young age. I think it's important to establish for a lot of great villains. For this type of great villain. This isn't the kind of villain where, something bad happened to him and we're sympathetic. Like, this isn't your kind of like a Kylo Ren villain. This is definitely somebody who came from a, poor background, but, is doing all these bad things and is enjoying it. I think he starts out like, as you see in the flashback, hey, Mom, I'm doing this for you. He's like the biggest of mama's boys, for lack of a better word, where he desires his mother's attention. And he knows his mom isn't having the best, she's struggling. She's filing out the ledgers for what we eventually see of our first look at Rex Calabrese here. She's like filling out all the bank ledgers. She has to, and she gets paid a little bit. Even Jack mentions, hey, like our mom's not getting what she deserves. And I think Oz takes it on himself to be that object of power, desire that his mom so desperately wants, and he enjoys that. However, with his brother's dead, I think there's also a part of him that also is doing this for himself. He's, as we see in every single episode, Oz is a very selfish character. So he's doing all of this throughout time, not just for his mom, but for himself, even though his mom is kind of like his emotional touchstone, if you will, for him. He eventually just starts doing this for himself because he likes power. He likes being the next Rex Calabrese, per se. But also, in the context of this episode, I think this episode was primarily about how far Oz and Sophia are going to grapple with their family connections. Oz's family means a lot to him, but also not a lot to him. His mom means everything to him. His brothers didn't. They're both families to Oz, but he still doubled down on killing them to spend more time with his mom. So Oz is also, it's a complex issue where he's running away from his past, but also sticking with his family connection. He's sticking with the love he has for his mom.
You don't think he has any remorse for the actions against his brothers?
No, I don't.
I do, and I think it's reflected in how he treats Victor. Especially because you could just be like, yeah, hey, all right, kid, yeah, we're hanging out, see you around. But he's like, you never went to go get slushies. Oh, it's the best. You got to mix them together. Well, come on, let's go do it sometime. And they do by like the second episode, and that's definitely something you would do with like a brother at a young age. And, growing up, you feel like Oz has for a long time been missing that sense of having a friendship, a kinship with somebody. And now he's found that in Victor. This is probably something he had with his brothers. Again, I don't think it was an intent to kill them out the jump. I'm sure he was kind of enjoying of it, of having more time with his mother. But in the grand scheme, he's like, I don't really have friends anymore. And my mom, that's it.
That's a great point. Thank you for that. I think I think you're right. You're right. And I think, but also I think it's hard to say. Which is why this show is so beautifully complex. I think he did actively kill his brothers, yes, but also going off of your point, afterwards he's alone. He's a lone figure taking care of his mom. I think Victor is an echo of the brothers he used to have. That's an obvious fact. And I think that his relationship with Victor is emblematic of his like loneliness, his desire to have another form of kinship, even if he was the one to remove that kinship in the first place. which is an interesting point. But I say all this to say what's so brilliant about this show is that, it, like we mentioned early on in episode 1, this is a 2-parter show, and I think each episode, what Oz is going through is paralleled or perpendicular to what Sophia is going through. I think that's shown very smartly in this episode, where Oz is so closely connected to his mother in his past, in his family. Meanwhile, Sophia wants freedom. She wants to move away from that family, but the harsh irony of that she then realizes when she's talking to her cousin in the child home is that, like, her desire to move away from the Falcons, give herself her new name of Gigante, and break the wheel per se, in terms of like the cycle. She's not doing that, and I think she's having a panic attack, realizing that, like, wait a minute, I say all these things, like I don't like my father. Even when she's having a talk with Oz's mom, she's like, yeah, I don't like the color of the buildings either. It's like, that was my father. It wasn't me. She wants to separate herself away from Falcone, but she has a criminal empire. She's after drugs. She secluded her cousin into a child home to get away from the evil act that she did, exactly what her father did to her. Not a child home, it was Arkham, but similar circumstances. And I think
she shot a kid in the face. Just
in
front of Oz in the first episode.
In the first episode, and I think she's grappling with, like, I want to move away from my father, but deep down, not deep down, but just like on the surface level, I'm doing a lot of things that are very similar to what my father's doing. So who am I? And I think I love the conversation that she has a conversation with her doctor, where she's just Julian, where she's just like, I want freedom. I want to go away from my father. And that's what he said. She's like, then do it. You can do that. But then she also says, but I also want to kill Oz. It's like, which is so it's so interesting and complex. Like, she wants to move away from it all. And I think she does do that in this episode, where by the end, she doesn't care about, or at least I want to get your take on this. I don't think she really cares about the drug business anymore. She's willing to blow up the entire operation.
Given what she enacts.
Yeah. So
at that point, I mean, granted, at that point, it's like she's currently in a place where it's just like the empires don't matter. We can build an empire later. I just need to kill this parasite Oz right now.
Yeah. So she seems to be, which is a big dig at Falcone, which Falcone's big thing was, like, besides choking girls, his big thing was like a criminal drug empire. She seemingly does away with that in this penultimate episode, blowing up all of the whole Bliss operation just to get at Oz. And by the end of the episode, she manages to get him. And in the finale, now we're on a collision course where it seems like Sophia is out to kill Oz, and Oz is very much so ready to kill Sophia because she still has his mom. So I think it was a very interesting tug and pull here. I know they said Batman won't show up on the show, but surely this is all on his radar by now. I want to leave the comments. I want to get back to that in a second. But I'll definitely answer that in a minute. But I love how this episode had a different tug and pull, where Sophia is an antagonist to our main bad character of Oz, but she's also one to go away from family, while Oz wants to get closer to family. But they're doing it in very topsy-turvy ways and some seemingly explosive and chaotic ways. I think the way they grappled with their family in this episode, and also there's a very cool editing shot of Sophia when she's entering the children home, and it jumps to like Arkham and then jumps back as she's like scarred of her past. Very well done. The way the show like has these characters grappling with like the darkness of their past. It's so smart, so good.
There was also like a quick thing in the back when she's like walking down that hallway to see her cousin was There's like an adult and a child that are there that are like sitting on a bench, and as soon as she walks past, they walk away. And I don't know if that was just like in the set, like the characters are just leaving the area, or if they like saw her and was just like, let's get out of here. But just the fact that like Sophia has that aura that like, I would believe the latter if it is that.
Yeah, I would too. I would definitely believe that. Try to think what else in this episode. I guess we can just jump.
Sal is fun.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Wow. What do you think of this? Sal, big bad here, heart attack.
It's like I knew I couldn't keep Clancy Brown. They always take him from me. God.
Yeah, it's in his contract, Nathan. What can you say?
No, it's okay. No, it was very compelling. I really like the way that that Oz eggs him on, just constantly like taunting his fucking dead family he killed. And you know, he made a promise to Sophia that he'd bring Oz in, but he's just like, nah, fuck it. Like, I'm grabbing the gasoline now, bitch. Give me a light. Somebody. And then everything goes down. They're just like, they're not even like really, they're just like big loafs. They're not good fighters or anything. They're just like lopping the same hits back and forth again, like whoever goes down first. And it seems like Sal has Oz. Sal would have beaten Oz for sure, but
I agree.
Had it not been for Dark Condition, takes him out. But then also really interesting from the perspective of Oz, not only to feel like, yeah, oh, I beat Sal on a technicality, but like he's like, yeah, I beat him fair and square. Like I had the power to do that, even though he got help from the heart attack. And then he just like revels in it. It seems like he probably would have tried to get more info out of him too before he died, like where his mom would be located. But just with Oz's ego, he has to like let him know in like the last dying moments of this man, like I beat you. You have to know that I did this. Yeah. You went down because of me.
It was very much a Daredevil Kingpin parallel there.
I know it's been memed, but like that is an all-time scene. I mean, that's such a good scene.
It's a great scene. Yeah, it's been memed to death, but I love that scene. But in contrast to Daredevil, Mr. Krabs felt that. In contrast to Daredevil, like actively winning against Kingpin, Penguin doesn't win. Like you said, like Penguin was definitely going to lose that fight. He was on a losing battle, but he takes the W. Nobody saw what happens, and that's how stories happen, right? Especially in this universe, what we've seen so far, like stories is created by the victor, especially with the stories about like what happened in the Batman with how Falcone came to power. It was all these lies and stuff like that. So it was all very interesting out and just very poignant to Oz's character of like taking ownership. Like, I beat you. I'm the big tough guy. I did this. When he really didn't. Oz got super lucky, but he's going to take the W either way because that's just who he is. So I love that part. I think Salvatore Maroni, what a great character in general, a person who had a very, very, very close connection to his own family. He loved his wife, loved his son, which is in sharp contrast to the Falcones, where the Falcones are all about family, but Carmine sold out his own daughter and didn't give a shit about his son. And then Oz over here and Sophia are also grappling with their family. It's just like the way the show is, like, you know, has family as a big moral dilemma, and all these individual characters is very cool. But yeah, I love that scene. I loved how it played out. So yeah, lastly, let's dive into let's dive into this Batman thing here. People are really hoping Rob Bat shows up here.
Excuse me. Just say Battinson and go, my guy.
But yeah, Robert Pattinson, they want the Batman to show up, and that's because it's getting a bit too hectic. It's getting a bit too crazy. You know, a whole city block got blown up. Obviously, he can't ignore that, as Draven said. I'm on the other side of it. I don't think I'm keeping my expectations low. I don't expect him to show up here. This is a Penguin show. I understand Batman is like people should fear the Batman. Batman should be an ever-present, fear in these guys' eyes, and it's not happening. It's like, this is a comic book show. I understand it to a degree, but also I'm just like, I don't care. Like, I'm just focused on the Penguin and Sophia's drama. Penguin's going to be in Batman Part 2. I don't need Robert Pattinson to show up here.
In fairness, though, we're not following like the small, low-level time crooks that Victor was running with, right? We're following the same level. Like, if you go to the first Batman movie, whether it's Carmine or Oz himself, they see Batman, they're just like, oh yeah, let's look at you. Like they're not as intimidated as just like some random thug running around breaking windows and such. So we're watching people who are at those high level of power that they're not worried about a Batman. They're not worried about all that. Even if you think like after the events that like they should be, there's bigger stuff going on. Gotham flooded. There's like everything's out of disarray. We're not really like focusing on a Batman right now. We don't know what Bruce is up to, and I'm sure whatever they decide on for the Batman 2, it's gonna even out just as well as it'd be like, oh well, no wonder Bruce couldn't get there. He was dealing with fucking Mr. Freeze or something for a second. It does get interesting that I would believe of anything to get on Bruce's radar, it would be like the lowest level neighborhoods that are struggling, that he would probably take a bit of an interest in, or especially like at this point, and then like the block of that whole neighborhood blowing up, and it's like, oh my god, what's happening over there?
Yeah.
So if he does somehow get drawn in now, I would understand, but also I get why he's not here, because Batman's not taking on like the high level crime just yet. I mean, I'm sure Gordon's looking into it. I'm sure he's working with Gordon, getting info, but again, there's a lot of like big ramifications throughout all of Gotham after the flood. It wasn't just the low-level neighborhoods; those were flooded the most, yes, but like everywhere was affected.
Yeah, it was a huge big place. Gotham is a big place, and it was a huge undertaking that Riddler did there. And also, there's a thing to say that Batman, like, he can't be everywhere, and I think what the Batman showed, and even what Penguin shows, is that like, even with Batman being here, this is like year 1, year 2 Batman. He's still trying to grapple with being a hero. Even in the first one, like, he's a vigilante, but he's on his own like personal mission, his own personal quest. He hasn't become a protector of Gotham yet.
Yeah, and even like when you see the Batcave from it initially, like the monitors are like very like small. They're just 4 monitors here. Every data he has is what he collects through either surveilling the city himself physically or whatever he captures in his camera lenses in his eyes. He doesn't have like tapped in surveillance around the city or anything like that. He doesn't have a huge setup as integral as he would way down the line.
Yeah, and I think what this world that Matt Reeves is creating is showing us is that, like, even with a character like Batman, who maybe is trying his best following the events of the Batman, this city of Gotham is a continuously dangerous, continuously corrupt, and there are going to be instances where he can't do it all. He can't save everyone. He can't be everywhere. This city of Gotham is like, Sophia Gigante, her empire was created in the span of this season, and very quickly so, right? Like, she killed people overnight. Like, there's constant issues that he can't, always be there for. So I think it just goes to talk about how villainous this setting is, how ominous the setting of Gotham is as a whole is being shown in here, rather than like, where's Batman at? But again, I understand some complaints, and otherwise I'm just like, I don't think we'll see him. I do not think we'll see him. If we do, cool. But I just don't think Matt Reeves is about that life.
I think it's fair to have like a more nuanced conversation like we're having, as opposed to viewing it where it's like, I don't think it's just people clamoring to see Batman because they want the superhero cameo, like, hey, there's the guy, bing bang boom. Like, genuinely, like, we're talking of like, how would Bruce fit within this logically, but also we logically can see why he isn't at the time.
Yeah. And yeah, some people are mainly saying just because like, hey, this is getting too out of hand. And I'm like, yes and no, but again, this is all happening in Crown Point, a lower level city. And granted, Bruce isn't the kind of guy to be like, it's just Crown Point. That's not Bruce. But at the same time, you know, the news and stuff like that isn't the most prevalent in Crown Point. So it's like, you know, we'll see like how far reaching these effects are.
They could easily start the Batman 2 like starting right after the events of 1, which would be in conjunction to the show, and be like, wait, I found a clue. Someone's going after Selina in Bloodhaven. I gotta jump over there real quick.
Yeah,
be over there right now. You don't know.
We don't know. And I'm sure Matt Reeves is going to get tons of questions about this following the finale, and even like in the lead up to Batman Part 2, being like, where was he during Penguin? I think he'll have his own interpretations, as Matt Reeves is a big part of the show.
And this isn't like a thing where it's just like this is a side thing that like the studio's making. Reeves is involved in the story of this.
Every step of the way. Yep. So yeah, that's about it. You guys can find me on Twitter. Harris EV9. I gotta head out here. This is the week of Arcane Season 2. So Jalen and I are slowly making our way through Arcane Season 1. So we're gonna start Act 2 tonight, if we still have time.
Nice.
And then besides that, I'm constantly reading some books. Nathan, I effed up earlier today. This is also the week that Cassandra Cain, one of my favorite DC characters of all time, her new comic book starts on Wednesday. Cassandra Cain issue number 1. Go to your local comic book shops, buy it before it's sold out. I was trying to catch up on Cassandra Cain comics. They're the 2000 to 2006 run. It was like 78 issues. It was $96. And I'm like, I'm not buying that. Like, I'm just going to buy like the first volume. But I accidentally bought, like, it says, on Amazon.com, it says like 1-click buy. And I actively clicked it, and it was like $96 charged. I was like, oh shit! I was like, no. I did not want that at all.
Can you refund that support?
I immediately went to like the live chat, Amazon chat. I was like, I need an immediate refund of point blank in the period. And they're like, okay, cool. And then I got I was like, give me a confirmation email. So they gave me a confirmation email.
Give me evidence. Give me the receipt that you did it.
Because I could individually go to each comic book issue that's in my like order, my digital orders, and just like click on refund. I'm like, I'm not doing this 96 or 78 times. I'm like, I just need to call them and just like get the whole refund. So I got the refund, but it was a very funny thing. I'm just like, shit, I'm trying to do a research on a character, and I actually paid $96.
You screenshot every page of the issue and then hit refund.
That's a lot. So yeah, if people aren't interested, Cassandra Cain starts this week. Next week, one of my other favorite Marvel characters, Psylocke, is having a new comic book run created by Alyssa Wong, and they created the Dr. Aphra run, which I adore. So she's doing a Psylocke series for Marvel, and I'm super stoked for that. So some of my favorite DC Marvel characters are having new comic runs this month in December. And people who like Laura Kinney, X-23, her new comic run starts in December, and I already pre-ordered that as well. So a lot of good stuff ahead. Anyways, that's what I'm doing. Harris, EV9. How about you, Nathan?
You can follow me _TimeBlazer, making a show called Time Blazer with co-starring Craig Salt and Evan Harris.
Playing Ben. Well, I think Ben would also very much like the finale of Agatha. I think he would like Agatha. I think he'd be a big fan.
Maybe. You just apply this to everything we review, and I'm just like, fuck, would he like
I'm
about the lore of interest, and I'm like, I mean, he's Evan. Yeah, you are him. He's him.
Yeah.
He's got that dog in him. Do we still say that?
No.
No. If you guys enjoy this picture, like, subscribe, and already ring the bell so to miss all future coverage on movies and TV. And that being said, hope you have a great day. We'll catch you guys next time.